Hey everyone, it's me John, and I'm back with another Geek and Dorks Reviews. Do you remember when James Bond films were really fun? Do you remember that kind of stylized action and those wacky gadgets, and it was all a little tongue-in-cheek, almost looked like the actor that was playing James was just having the time of his life the whole time the movie was going on? And now, if you kind of look at that franchise, we have a pretty grumpy looking James, doesn't quite have all the gadgets he used to, real serious tone kind of smacked on top of those movies. Do you get that feeling? To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise anymore, which is a shame, because when I was a kid I was in love with James Bond. I had they even had toys back then, die-cast models of his different cars. If I remember right, I had like a submarine, I think from Octopussy or something. And you know, I was a kid of the 80s, so Roger Moore was kind of the James Bond that I was seeing in theaters at the time, but we all know Sean Connery had a great turn at it. Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, but there's just something about this Daniel Craig James Bond that just, quite honestly, took the fun out of it for me, and I've kind of left the franchise behind. And it's a shame, because if you look even at recent successes like Mission Impossible, they're based on that kind of 1960s spy espionage, very stylized world. And for some reason I feel like James has lost that. Well, fret not, because a new series called Kingsman The Secret Service has come in and just filled that void. More than fill that void. Honestly, I have not been as thrilled with the movie as I was with Kingsman The Secret Service in a long time. I was literally ready to watch it again the next day. And I know I'm getting a little late to this review. It is now available for rental. You can get it on Amazon Prime. I think you can rent standard definition for $4, high definition for $5. I think you can buy it for around $15 or something like that. It's available on Blu-ray and all those preferred formats for you to be able to watch it at home on your big screen. And if you haven't done it yet, I have to highly, highly recommend it. It is just one of the most entertaining movies that I've seen in a very long time, and especially coming off of last week with kind of the disappointment of the Fantastic Four movie that just came out. It was really refreshing. And it's kind of strange, because I was originally planning for this review to be about The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which, once again, we're looking back into that 1960s spy era, and I'm really curious to see how a good performance director would handle Henry Cavill, because I don't think that we see him with a good performance director when he's doing Superman. And just from the clips, it's grabbed my attention that he seems to be doing a pretty good acting job. But I took a look at the weekly box office, and for its opening weekend, I think it only pulled in $13 million, which is pretty much dead on arrival. So I might do a review of it sometime in the future, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it really has an audience that's interested in it. I'm really not a fan of that old franchise. I was really just curious to see what how Superman would do in a different movie. But back to Kingsman. This movie is directed and co-written by Matthew Vaughn, and you might know Matthew Vaughn from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Layer Cake, and Kick-Ass, which some people kind of equate some of the action style in Kingsman to Kick-Ass. For me personally, Kingsman feels like one part James Bond, one part Harry Potter, and one part Kill Bill, all kind of mixed into this awesome, awesome cocktail. As a matter of fact, there's a few scenes where the action is crazy intense, and it reminds me a little bit more of a Tarantino action sequence, maybe even treading into like John Woo in terms of how stylized the action is. It's really well thought out, very cool, very fun to watch. So Matthew Vaughn, thank you for giving us something to believe in again. Quite honestly, I am much more excited to see a Kingsman sequel than any James Bond sequel until they completely reboot that thing and give us some of the cool style back. You might also know him from directing X-Men First Class, which I think, hey, there's my X-Men poster, a lot of people are fans of, and he also contributed to the story in X-Men Days of Future Past, which I believe was a really fun tale, and I think a lot of people enjoyed that story as well. So props to Matthew Vaughn. The cast on Kingsman, really top notch. Colin Firth plays, the agents are named after Knights of the Round Table. He plays Harry Hart, also known as Galahad, and he is just really entertaining, just really encapsulates this kind of high, gentlemanly style super spy. He reports to Arthur, who is played by Michael Caine. Always great to see Michael Caine. He is one of the finest actors of our time. He really knows how to drive all of his heart and soul into a performance. It comes across every time you see him on screen. And for anyone else that are actors out there, you can find some footage of him actually teaching acting classes on YouTube from way back, I think maybe in the 70s or something. If you want to tune up your craft a little bit, check out one of those videos, because he is very open about some of the tools that he uses, and they're really, really good tools. Jack Davenport plays Lancelot, which was great to see him in that role. Mark Hamill appears for a role in there. I'm not going to blow it for you, but really enjoyable to see Mark Hamill play something besides, I think it's going to be great to see him play Luke Skywalker again. But it's kind of cool because in this role you almost hear his Joker voice a little bit. It's not that he's really putting on that much of a character, but I think with the English accent it just kind of takes him down to that range of his voice. So a little bit of Joker in there, which is kind of cool. If anything, I think the weak spot, and this is, I hardly even want to call it a weak spot, but Samuel L. Jackson plays kind of the main villain, and it seems like he's inspired maybe by Russell Simmons, that type of mogul, except he's more of a technology mogul. And I don't think of Samuel L. Jackson as a character actor, but in this movie he really attempts to be. He puts this kind of hard lisp into all of his dialogue, and it kind of pulls me out just a little bit. I mean, I think we all love Sam Jackson in the roles we know him for. Nick Fury, maybe you see him too much in credit card commercials every now and then, but he always gives a very good performance. In this movie, it's a little bit of a caricature, and it just slightly kind of pulls you out of the movie every now and then, because quite honestly, he doesn't nail the lisp. There's certain S's that get through, and then on the other S's, he's got this weird kind of lisp. So it's kind of hit or miss, but that's a real minor complaint. And I got to tell you, the rest of the movie quite easily makes up for it. It's a bunch of fun action. It's got a great young cast. It's got a great older cast. And that's really, I think, what it fills for me. Right now, I feel like James Bond is for old white guys. And this movie cut across the board. It was running in the box office for a really long time, made over $400 million worldwide, easily made its production budget back, and it actually got women into the theater as well, which was a very cool side effect for a movie that was basically designed to try to capture both older men and younger men, and it rates very highly in those classes too. So I highly recommend it. Also, I'm going to include a link down in the description box for one of my favorite shows. It's called Honest Trailers. You might know it. It's from the Screen Junkies, who I was fortunate enough to sit in a panel at VidCon, and they just yesterday released their honest trailer for Kingsman. So it's great for a laugh. It'll also give you a big dose of what the movie's about, and there might be some minor spoilers in it, so you might want to hold off on watching the honest trailer until after you rent the movie. But I'm telling you, if you're not busy tonight, get on Amazon, rent that sucker, and check it out. I'm pretty sure you're going to have a good time. Thank you so much for joining me on this Geek and Dorks review. I will catch you at the end of the week with another brain scratch. Hope you're having a good one. Take care.